go into the Vatican to see all the frozen, cryogenically frozen popes, because one of them was my name, Consalvi. My father's name is a Roman name, Consalvi.
Did you go in?
Yeah, and that I got because it was on my passport, Consalvi.
So you saw the frozen popes?
I saw all the frozen popes.
Was it wild?
Terry Bozzio came with me, and Terry says, can we take a Polaroid?
Hey,
Terry,
Segovia,
we're
back with
serious.
another video. Hope everyone out there is having a good day, y'all. We're back with another one. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, y'all. We got a good one coming up today. We got an hour banger. You know my slogan. I ain't gonna do too much chit-chatting, y'all. We're gonna save that for the end of the video, and you know I gotta chit-chat throughout the video. Let's do what we all came here for. Let's get into it. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Breaking news from the Middle East, and Iran has warned the United States, the United Kingdom, and France that bases and ships in the region will be targeted if they help to stop Tehran's strikes on Israel. Now, that's being reported by Iranian state media in the last few minutes. Now, of course, that ups the ante somewhat, doesn't it? I mean, it seems like quite a foolish thing to say, in that the United States certainly are already doing that. They've already helped intercept some ballistic missiles, as we understand. And President Trump, particularly, is not going to like that.
Yeah, he won't take that line down.
No, he will not. And he's already been...
Nor should we.
Well, no, I mean, we're not involved at this stage, as far as we understand it. Would it prevent us from doing so? Probably not. You wouldn't be bullied in that sense, I wouldn't have thought.
No, it just shows that things are going to escalate over the next couple of days at least.
Oh my God. Filot.
Behind enemy lines, y'all.
Active moral war. This is my Muslim brother right here. I don't fuck with at all what's going on. Yes, I'm Jewish. I take accountability for them. That's fucked up, bro. I'm sorry. That's your people.
I love you, man.
Nope, still going. Would you say the same during the MLK movement for civil rights? I got this comment in response to me telling Christians you shouldn't be involved in today's No Kings protest. And surprisingly, I had more than one person respond like this. A couple people said, this has nothing to do with Jesus. We're not saying no kings to Jesus. We're just against fascism. First, I'll answer this, and then let's get to the bigger issue at hand. Would you say the same during the MLK movement? No, because its main focus was Christ. I know the history books don't want you to know that, but the main focus was Christian values. Let me make something abundantly clear. The very people who are putting on this protest, the people sponsoring it, the people organizing it, the people funding it, they hate your God. They hate him. How do I know? Because they're the same people that will fund and support and organize the pro-choice protests, advocating for abortion. They're also the same group that pushes forward the sexual perversion of this nation. It has been the left who has pushed forward this idea of sexual identity, transgenderism, and rainbows everywhere. Satan loves the enemy of my enemy is my friend. The word of the Lord says, take no part in darkness. At this point, it feels like even if Satan was to host a protest against Trump, people would say, well, look, I don't like Satan. I think he's a terrible guy. But I hate Donald Trump and what he's doing, so I'll go. So when I'm telling Christians not to be involved in this nonsense, the No Kings protest, it has nothing to do with my political leaning. I'm not telling you, shut up and support Trump. I'm telling you that the people that you want to go out there and be with hate your God and hate you. They only support you when you support them. I'm also warning Christians because the tensions right now are unsafe. We have mayors and governors and sheriffs coming out saying, if you stand in front of a car, I am giving them permission to run you over. Not to mention the danger of all the things that could be targeted during this because of what's going on internationally. The enemy knows that he cannot get you to just side with darkness blindly. You're not stupid. But if he can convince you to hate that darkness so much that you'll stand in this darkness to fight it, he wins. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, says the devil. About to go out there and stand with people who would yell, "Keep your God out of our politics. Keep your religion out of my body." That's who you'll be hanging out with. And spoiler alert, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm warning you. You've been warned. Do with that as you please. God bless and go in peace.
This is pretty sad stuff about Fairlife because I drink the shit out of it. The problem is the microplastics. Fairlife was the #1 in everything they tested by a wide margin. Specifically the Core Power High Protein Milkshake Chocolate, which is what I've been buying out the wazoo for the last 4 or 5 months. And popping off in terms of popularity too. Like everyone at the warehouse drinks them as well. They're just really good. They are really, really good. You can boil up to 2 minutes over 90% of the microplastics from regular drinking water. Try doing that with the milk. Brother, the last thing I want to fucking do with a milkshake is boil it. I'm not going to be drinking any more Fairlife anymore. It's really such a shame.
This world is really a crazy ass place because when that dude made that video saying that when you work at a place and you get a new car, don't show it to your coworkers or don't drive it to work at all because it's going to change the dynamic of how they treat you, or it very well could. He was definitely spitting facts because I remember my dad bought a 2003 Dodge Ram 1500 back in 2004. So this truck had only been out for like a year. Now at the time, he was driving a 98 or 99 Dodge Dakota, and I was like, oh, you know, I was happy for him, but this motherfucking old man, he got a new truck. We like, oh, we gonna be doing this, we gonna, even though I ain't put no fucking money down. You know, had me excited like this is my truck, but I digress. And whenever I would go to school in the morning, I would always notice that the new truck was still in the yard. When we go on vacation, when we go out of town, when we go out to eat on the weekends, we would take the new truck. But whenever he would go to work, he would always drive his old one. And in my mind, I'm like, this doesn't make sense to me. Why would you spend all this money? Because even back then, I knew trucks were expensive. Why would you spend all this money on a car, a new one, and not take it to work? So one day I asked him, and he said, listen, this is not all the time, but sometimes you don't want to show the world you got new shit. Because especially with jobs, managers, higher-ups, and people in positions of power, they always want to have this sense of they're always better than you. And if they see or sense that you're doing better or that you are making some strides to get better outside of the position that you are in, they'll start to treat you different. They'll start to do certain things, and they'll start to move differently, and it could really affect your job. You never want to let people know what you got going on. And still at the time, I just could not understand that. But the older I got, the more I realized, yeah, you're right. It's like, if you are fortunate enough to have 2 cars, try your best to just take the car that you're just used to driving to work. Take that to work, right? Number one, we don't really fuck with our coworkers like that anyway. And I would like to say, yeah, you worked hard for this, you do what you got to do, you make it happen. But this is the real world. Like, a lot of jobs will literally act funny when you start to treat yourself better, because it makes them feel like, why are you trying to be better than what you are? See what I'm saying? And if you ever find yourself in situations like that, that job's not for you. Fuck that job. Boss up, do your thing.
Yo, there is a massive Walmart rabbit hole I just fell down. Check this out. Now, we all know about the nationwide anti-ICE No Kings protest mobilizing on June 14th, but who is behind this and where's the funding coming from? Now, that ad was bought and paid for by none other than Christy Walton of the Walton family, who is worth $19 billion, but the question is, why would they even care and be doing something like this? But the more you look into the background of Walmart and what they're currently doing, we'll give you some insight on what we're dealing with. Like this, why is Walmart selling little girls' dresses for $1,000 a piece? I mean, this is starting to look like Wayfair 2.0, but it gets even weirder. Now, this is the distributor that Walmart allowed to sell these dresses, and if you look up this address, it takes you down a dark path. You highlight this and it literally takes you to the murder of Cecilia Zhang, who went missing back in 2003. Who was a 9-year-old girl from Canada who went missing for 6 months, then they discovered her body by the river in 2004. And the murderer actually confessed and did say that it was a kidnapping for ransom, but the death was accidental. So what are the chances that that distributor actually leads to this murder and they're selling little girls' dresses? Interesting. But not only that, can anybody tell me why Walmart just opened their own creator studio, in which they're providing podcast services, space for creators to film, and other services, but Why does this feel like an infiltration into the space? Yeah, I don't trust this because I can definitely see them funding and creating their own creators to push an agenda. And the question is, who owns the IP after you film here? Is there some type of clause where they own you and your content? Sometimes you just have to lift the veil and see what's really going on, but let me know what you guys think below.
Do you not trip out that Dick Tracy had a square watch that looked like an Apple Watch?
It's kind of crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
they would
so-
talk to it, and everybody's like, that's nuts. He's talking
Right?
to his
Okay, so
watch."
did we... All right, this is like we should be drinking or something should be going on. What happened? Did Apple did we influence enough Apple people that they just decided to make it a square watch and make it look like Dick Tracy's watch? Or did the Dick Tracy thing, did we already make the watch, and did somebody go back and, I mean, do you ever sit there and trip on shit like that?
Look at this, y'all. I'm gonna read it. Hammerhead shark falls from sky onto disc golf course in South Carolina. A hammerhead fall from the sky.
This is the strangest way somebody could become possessed.
That's where
For
the
me,
real
the
news
most
is
odd
at.
thing that happened was a guy named John who was trying to open his third eye by watching a YouTube video.
Jeez.
Now, you think, YouTube, how could that hurt somebody? Well, it wasn't the YouTube, it was the demon that was coming through the YouTube video.
That's
And he
crazy.
felt it go in him, and that was the beginning. That guy was years.
Really?
We worked with him for years, and then he finally got arrested and thrown in prison, so I couldn't even see him anymore. But that was the worst case.
Do you know about the
Like, that's crazy, y'all, because there's simulations for that. There's, you know, schizophrenia simulations, there's bipolar simulations, there's, you know, ADHD simulations, there's, you know, DMT simulations you could watch. And that's kind of scary, y'all, that you know, that guy, it came through, he watched the third eye simulation and got possessed.
McDonald's ice cream machine conspiracy? Because the McDonald's ice cream machines are famous for being broken.
Yeah.
Taylor, the company that makes all the equipment for McDonald's, they also manufacture the ice cream machines for several other chains, like Wendy's, for example, where the ice cream machines never seem to be down. And that's foreshadowing, because it was a huge problem for McDonald's franchisees, the people who actually own the individual McDonald's, because they're required to use Taylor machines. That's the company, right? But the machines are horrible and they're impossible to fix on your own. And so every time it breaks, you have to call a technician from Taylor to come out and plug their special computer in to fix it for you. And it's a whole thing. So then, a couple dudes came up with a solution and founded a company called Kitsch. They had invented a technology that plugs into the Taylor machine and has a special computer built in to let franchisees fix the machines on their own. And we know all about these crazy details because Kitsch eventually filed a lawsuit that is wild to read. People from Taylor tried to infiltrate their trials while they were beta testing this technology, and they did it in 3 different ways. First, by asking to participate directly, then by asking under pseudonyms, then hiring private investigators to join the trials, and then eventually they got a McDonald's franchisee to join the trial on their behalf. As soon as they got their hands on one of these Kitsch machines, it went offline and stopped communicating data to Kitsch headquarters, and it later came out in court that they had been running the machine disconnected from the internet nonstop to presumably reverse engineer the technology. Around the same time, McDonald's HQ sent out a memo warning all the franchisees not to use the Kitsch software, or they would void their warranties and might be liable for legal penalties. Just a few months later, a new company called Powerhouse Dynamics came out with a product identical to Kitsch. And when the Kitsch team looked into it, they discovered that the new company was owned by none other than Middleby, the parent company of Taylor, the ice cream machine company. They discovered that Taylor, the company making these broken ice cream machines, took at least a quarter of their revenue from repairing the machines, not from selling working ones in the first place. Their whole business model relied on selling faulty machines that were constantly in need of repair. And then it came out in further discovery that the executives at Middleby, Taylor, and McDonald's had been colluding to kill the Kitsch software because they were in on the broken ice cream machine scam altogether to some degree. It was literally a corporate conspiracy theory over the most mundane thing ever, McFlurries.
There's this idea that Israel's an impenetrable fortress. They have this missile defense system. They're untouchable. Israel has a few missile defense systems. They have the Iron Dome, they have the David Sling, and they have a series of systems called Arrow. And they have the Terminal High Altitude Defense System by the United States. Iron Dome, which is the most famous one, is just for short-range rockets. This is for short-range, small rockets from Hamas and Hezbollah on the border. They're not going to be using Iron Dome for this. They might use Iron Dome for some of these slow-moving drones. Most of those are being picked off by fighter jets, and the Iron Dome is really meant for rockets, but they'll use Iron Dome against some of the drones. What they're using for the ballistic missiles is the David Sling and the Arrow system. But the problem is that ballistic missiles are much more difficult to intercept than drones and rockets. Ballistic missiles are faster, they're bigger, they go higher up in the air, and when they reach their terminal phase, they're basically unstoppable. So this is why Iran is launching hundreds of ballistic missiles, and they're penetrating the shield. What's more, not only are they more difficult to shoot down, and so the failure rate is much higher for the David Sling and the Arrow than the Iron Dome, but the interceptor missiles that Israel uses to shoot down the ballistic missiles are very difficult to acquire. They're very difficult to procure because the United States doesn't make a lot of them. So if Iran is launching tons of stuff at Israel, Israel's got to shoot all of it down. It's got to shoot 100% of it down. But it's not just Iran. It's also Iraq. It's also the Houthis in Yemen. If Israel is shooting down missiles from Yemen, missiles and drones from Iraq, missiles and drones from Iran, every day they're running out of interceptors. Every time they shoot one of those down, it's extremely expensive. It's costing millions, upwards of billions of dollars. So it costs a lot of money, but we're also running out of the equipment. And so eventually, there's going to be a situation where Iran is making more missiles and has more missiles than Israel has interceptors. And at that point, Israel's completely vulnerable. Israel's just going to get bombarded with ballistic missiles, and there's nothing they could do about it.
So the news has just come in that Melissa Hortman, as well as her husband, Mark Hortman, have been pronounced dead after an assassination in their hometown of Minnesota. Now, for some of y'all who may not know who Melissa is, she is a congresswoman. She is in the House of Representatives representing Minnesota. And, well, as much as we may not like to politicize these things, this was political. Now, Melissa was targeted right after she voted alongside the Republican Party as far as a piece of legislation that would allow for health care for illegal immigrants, right? She went against the fold. Now, I'm not saying that this was a targeted attack from these specific people, but I find it very suspicious that after she votes in opposition to her own party, and there are rumors floating around that she is allegedly looking to switch parties, all of a sudden she is executed. So rest in peace. So rest in peace to Melissa and her husband. Honestly, nobody, no matter what political affiliation you have, deserves to be taken out in such a way. And unfortunately, this just seems to be the way in which the left handles business. Allegedly.
Eat their own.
Again, if you look at where most of the actual violence has taken place, it's been...
What's wrong with the red dye number 40?
It's like dyes in the food. They cause ADHD apparently. And what Luke Belmar changed me. No tap water, no red 40.
All I drink is tap water.
No.
Why don't you drink tap water? Are you serious?
Yeah, tap water apparently filled with estrogen.
I don't like when I pour a glass of tap water and it's all murky.
There's usually air bubbles. I hadn't used a property in LA in a very long time, and we fill up the water and it's all cloudy. And Macy was looking at this and was like, "This is horrible water. Like, I don't want to shower with this," and it looked really bad. So you just left it for 20 minutes, came back, crystal clear water. So it's not dirty, it's just air bubbles.
No, that's actually the estrogen.
Man, I don't know what Israel knows in relation to how Iran is going to retaliate, but they have just issued a stark warning to their population saying we are facing powerful and complex days ahead. People must seek shelter when alerts are sent out. Israel also just said that they believe that they've killed Iran's senior nuclear scientist in their strikes, while Iran is saying that they hit residential areas and children were among those killed. Netanyahu has also just delivered an address saying that the operation is not over and the strikes will continue for as long as it takes to remove the threat. There's not yet been a retaliation from Iran, but I have a feeling we're going to hear about it very quickly if and when it happens.
You know, they retaliated quick, y'all. Next morning, they were on them, right? But what sucks is, us included, we don't have a choice, y'all. This might be the one. This might be the one that starts it and ends everything. And we have no choice about it. We can't say, you know what, we don't support this. We can go out there and protest all we want, but at the end of the day, that ain't going to do nothing. These people that are in power, billionaires, have their best interests at heart. Now, they're not doing that for us. They're doing that for them. And that's what sucks is we have no say-so, y'all. This world can come to an end, and we can't do nothing about it, right? We can go do chaos in the streets and loot, and we can't do nothing about it, y'all. That's what sucks. And we are very divided right now. Very divided. Like, if that was to pop off, World War III was to pop off, we'd be even more divided. We wouldn't come together like how I'm sure it was in World War II or how it was when 9/11 happened. We were all for that war, y'all. We were out there like, yeah, let's go during that time. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say I wasn't. You were. You know, the whole damn country was for that, y'all. And I was only 11, so, but still, I know I was 11. I know how it was, y'all. Like, people were for it. This internet wasn't here. We didn't have all this knowledge, so we have no say so, y'all.
We're done with these plane crashes, y'all. But nope, it just happened again. Something about this crash not sitting right with me, y'all. So this Boeing 787 Dreamliner, supposed to be one of the safest in the world, just went down 2 minutes after flight, y'all, as you can see. So there wasn't no engine fire, there wasn't a bird strike, it just fell out the sky, y'all. And it hit a building, but not just any building, y'all. So this was a flight from India to London. And just a couple of minutes into the flight, the pilot yelled, "Mayday." And y'all know what comes with that. That means some shit was going wrong. And then as y'all seen, it went down. And there were 242 passengers on this plane. And they're all gone, y'all. Like, boom. So here's where it get weird, y'all. Out of all places, the plane crashed into a building that was a doctor's hostel. A medical building, y'all, that was full of interns and medical researchers. And they're saying this was the first fatal crash from a Dreamliner, y'all. That's crazy. I'm gonna keep y'all updated on this situation. Because like I said, it's either a failure, sabotage, or something deeper. And all I know is all 242 passengers on that plane is gone. Their life is over. And it's probably going to be more people from that building that's going to add on to that toll. So, my condolences to everyone who was affected by this. This shit crazy, y'all.
We were looking at Iran the other day in photographs from the 1970s. Girls had mini skirts. They all look really hot. The guys had no shirts on, with six packs, walking down the street. Everyone's smiling. Looks like Europe. It looks like you're in Italy. And now it's run by a dictatorship. If you criticize the government, they execute you.
Why do you think they never made a television? I mean, I've heard one thing, which is that Steve Jobs demanded, this is obviously, before 2011, that when the TV was off, that the pixels be white rather than black, and that Apple was unable to nail this.
So we have some updated news in regards to the motive behind the shooting of the 2 Minnesota state representatives. It's looking like the man who shot them, who was a Democrat appointed by Tim Walz, it looks like he targeted them because they voted against giving taxpayer-funded health care to illegal aliens. They simply believed that American taxpayers shouldn't pay for illegal immigrants. And he shot them over it. State Representative Melissa Hortman and State Senator John Hoffman both recently voted against their party, with Hortman supporting repeal of free healthcare for illegals and Hoffman joining Republicans in the Senate to pass it. This is what whack job Democrats do when you vote against party lines. This is what they do when you disagree with them. And the sad thing is I see so many creators trying to pin this on MAGA. Guys, MAGA would have no reason to go after these people. In fact, of all the people in the Minnesota House and all the people in the Minnesota Senate, these are the two Democrats that were working with the Republicans. And you think...
Yeah, like I even saw, I was watching a news clip yesterday and they showed he had like post-its of the No Kings protest or whatever. I was like, man, that's... I didn't even know what No Kings was until I was making this video. Y'all don't nobody know what that is, right? I just knew there was protests going on. I didn't know it had a name and all that. Maybe I'm just out the loop. I don't know, but that was kind of weird when I saw that he had just perfect notepads that were on top. They weren't shuffled in. He had about a stack of notepads and it said No Kings on the top, like 4 of them. And then they canceled the protest in Minnesota because of that.
Republicans went after them. The only 2 people working with them. Yeah, sure. That makes sense if you don't think about it.
The Travis one is the one I consider to be the most important. When he got from a distance, they look 100% like humans, but the closer he got, he said, and I looked at this one person, he was very close to him, and he said the eyes gave him away right away that he was not human. So that totally got my attention because I thought that is very peculiar to have this faction of the story of Travis Walton, who I think has proven himself through the years with lie detector tests and collaborative witness accounts that he did have an experience, and he insisted of these tall, human-looking blonde beings that were there, 2 males and 1 female.
Crazy strong too.
Very strong.
They were like even the women.
Even the
like,
woman
was
was
them down
straight,
effortlessly.
I mean, he's a 6'2", big guy. Very at the time he was he's in the top of his shape at that time. So he said I was very strong, and they were able to move me very easily, like if it was a mechanical thing moving him. So that means they're stronger.
They also had the wildest, most sci-fi feature about them, other than the suits they were wearing. They had fish bowls.
Fish bowls.
Now this is something
Yeah.
straight out of the Jetsons.
Yeah.
And the only reason I found that intriguing is because there is another case in the UK of a lady seeing a saucer just hanging in the air, and the occupants, being blonde,
that's right,
also had fish bowls.
That's right.
All I can describe this huge Mexican hat. It was stationary, this thing, and it was bright silver in color, and it had a dome. A dome. It was tilted to sort of... I could see the occupants in it.
You saw people in it?
I saw people in it. There were 2 people in there. These people were beautiful people. That's the only way I can describe them. They had long golden hair, like a page boy bob, just like the old kings. You used to see photographs of the old kings. And the color of the hair was golden. Now, I was really...
What were they dressed in?
They had a sort of a polo neck jumper affair, like a ski top suit, in pale blue. Now, these people weren't sat one behind the other. They were sat together, but this, whatever it was tilted so that I could see them and they could see me. They had beautiful faces. I shall never forget their faces as long as I live. Their foreheads seemed to be a bit larger than, the bottom of their faces as normal people you would expect to see. But maybe this was just whatever they had round their heads, which was like a transparent fishbowl. And they just looked. And I was absolutely paralytic with fear. I couldn't move, although my mind was ticking over. And they looked so sympathetic.
But it's...
Before you is
RS 31078, Cannibalism.
And North Idaho State Representative Heather Scott introduced a new bill which expands a law banning cannibalism. It comes from what she says
Banning
a rise in
cannibalism.
human composting. Scott says she's worried about the possibility that people are eating other people and may not know they're doing so. She says it comes with the rise in human composting, which is legal in several states as a means of dealing with human remains. Cannibalism is banned in Idaho, but Scott's bill would add a ban on giving someone else the flesh or blood of a human without their knowledge or consent.
We told you that was going on.
Through the committee and will
What the
move to a
heck?
floor vote.
Like, you know what's funny? Beginning of the year, remember Robert Kennedy was taking out all these ingredients starting the first of the year? And then now we're seeing, before that happens, we're starting to, there's things are going viral, like the Gravedigger dude, like there's nothing in there. There's a business that these people are selling. We're seeing the thing at Harvard get exposed. We're seeing them start to pass these type of laws. Maybe they're going to stop doing that because these, you know, the Trump administration's in there. And Robert Kennedy's coming after him. He's telling us the dies and all that, but maybe it's more than what they're telling us, because there's a reason why this is getting talked about on TikTok, right? They push what they want out. When it's time for this to come out, this is what comes out. Maybe that's the big cover up. Maybe that's why all these things are happening. These planes, these things we talk about here, these ditties, these big wars starting to pop off and sneaking that little bill past. You know, maybe, I don't know, y'all. I'm just thinking from watching this with you guys. This is my first time watching these clips, is here with you guys always.
Statement. It's simple, but it just blew my mind. And it said one person could change the whole world for a better as long as they don't give a damn who gets that credit. If you just want to sit back, you just want to see things better, and you really can change it for the better, but you don't have to worry about going, you know, so-and-so said that, or so-and-so set that up, or so-and-so did that, because now you're doing it for a different reason.
Wait, what do you mean the more people that ICE abducts, the more money you make? Yeah, it's one of the most exciting periods of my career. What an odd thing to say. You know how we already do privatized prisons? Well, it just kind of made sense that we would also do privatized immigration detention centers for ICE as well. I didn't know you did privatized prisons. Oh, shoot. Probably shouldn't have said that. Of course, there's financial interests in everything. You've really never heard of us, though. Core Civic, the Geo Group. Can't say I have. Brian Evans, Damon Hinninger, the biggest private prisons in the U.S. Do you really want to be advertising the CEO's names, considering the climate? Oh, shoot. Well, I shouldn't have said that. Well, we do a lot more than that anyways. Oh, like other industries? No, we do lobbying. We lobby for prisons and immigration detention centers. Wow, yeah, that makes sense. What do you lobby for? Just the normal things. Increased ICE quotas, increased surveillance for the government to make it easier to find illegals, make it harder for people to be eligible for asylum. It kind of sounds like you want to make it harder for people to get here legally and easier for the government to surveil us. You got me. Yeah, I can't stock my facilities if there aren't illegals to catch. You do know that being here undocumented is not a crime, right? I mean, crossing the border illegally, that's a misdemeanor. Overstaying your visa, that's a civil offense. But being undocumented, not a crime. Listen, I'm a CEO. Sometimes we just have to say shit. Hey, do you want to know how we make money? You get paid per person, so increased ICE activity means that you get paid more? Yeah, kind of, but I have contracts. So let's say that I get like $100 per person, and my contract guarantees that I'm going to get paid for at least 500 people per day. And when you have more than 500, you get paid more. Yeah, and multiply that by like 30 facilities. Some of them have 3,000 beds. We even implemented surge pricing. Like Uber? And with my new updated contracts, I should make over $1 billion just from ICE this year. We're opening up a new facility. We're dusting off the old ones. Why don't we do this through government facilities? Oh, I can do it cheaper. Shittier facilities, shittier food, shittier medical care. I'm your guy. Brian Evans, Damon Hinninger of Geo Group and Civic Corps. Oh, shoot. I'm just going to guess, but you probably have a relationship with the current administration. I would certainly hope so. Between us and our companies, we've donated well over $1 million. Oh, Damon, watch your mouth. So you're responsible for the escalation in the ICE raids, why the military's been deployed against citizens in at least 2 states now, why the National Guard has been caught arresting people in California, which is super illegal, why the Marines are making TikToks threatening citizens. Well, I think it's a little disingenuous for you or I to suggest that we're responsible for what's happening. There is a lot more at play, but we certainly pushed for it, and we're definitely going to profit from it. Why are you telling me all of this? Honestly, I'm just kind of desperate for some human connection. Have you ever wondered if thinking about humans like livestock makes it hard to connect with people? I mean, we don't treat our employees great, but I wouldn't call them cattle. No, I was talking about the people you detain. Oh, you're talking about the product. No, that couldn't be it.
I just see it's so much division, y'all. Like this guy's making that because he's on the left. The person on the right is making the same video, but Gavin Newsom, we're giving you billions of dollars for homelessness, but there's people over here. Oh, you're profiting off of homelessness. Like people don't understand that the people on the left that are so one-sided are the same as the people on the right. You guys are the same people. You just don't realize it. You guys are the same. You got the same exact beliefs. Like you got to be in the middle, y'all. Because if you're in the middle, you see all the nonsense on both sides, right? I lean more right. You know what I mean? But I see the nonsense on both sides, y'all. I see the nonsense. Come in the middle with me. Come in the middle with Segovia. It's so much better over here, y'all. So much better.
Straight. Okay, you're telling me that Israel has the capabilities of launching a missile from a drone thousands of miles away and directly targeting one of the leaders of the Islamic Republic in Iran through his bedroom wall and directly hitting him while he was sleeping in his bed. Their military equipment is so advanced that not only can they track where specific people are in real time, they can send drones from Israel to launch missiles at those people from thousands of miles away. But we are supposed to believe that in order for them to fight Hamas, they had to destroy virtually every single livable building in Gaza. They had to bomb every single hospital in Gaza at least once, if not multiple times. They had to bomb every school. They had to literally destroy every university, all of the buildings of the universities in Gaza in order to fight Hamas.
If they start talking to you about fighting a war with Iran, you treat them like an enemy that they are. They are not on your side.
You go fight Iran. You go form an army and fight Iran. Everybody wants peace, except Israel. Israel wants control.
Go fight your own war.
We are done. The deception is over.
A lot of you have been talking about Plum Island and how you believe that extreme animal testing as well as the creation of animal hybrids happens here. This rabbit hole goes a lot deeper than just conspiracy. You see, Plum Island, an area located off the coast of New York, is home to the PIADC, which is an animal disease center that specializes in researching animals. At least that's what we're officially told. If you look at the history of this island, you'll find out that this island was coincidentally also used to research biological warfare. The government's official stance on this is that that type of research ended in 1969, but people became suspicious when a woman named Jenna Hewitt and her friends were walking along a beach in New York and stumbled upon a completely unrecognizable carcass. The carcass that they found had claws, a beak like a bird, and a body like a pig. The strangest part is that when they came back with scientists to get samples, the carcass was completely gone. And since very odd and deformed bodies kept washing up on the shores for years to come, people ultimately came to the conclusion that something very strange was happening on Plum Island that included animal experiments, and people were just running into the remains of it.
The other day, I was giggling around when I heard we must go to China and you see the Great Wall of China. Then I asked a simple question. If it is the Great Wall of China, where is it facing? And then you discover the Great Wall of China is not facing China, is facing Europe. So now we know that the Moors were protecting their land from the invasions of the Mongolians. So it cannot be called the Great Wall of China. It is actually the Great Moorish War against the Mongolians, who are the Chinese. But when you don't write your history, it always takes the complexion of the writer. Until the lion explains his history, the hunter will remain as the conqueror. But that's for a beautiful moment of taking me and allowing me to come and share this space with you. here in Rundonda. I am quite excited to share some moments. I will take you away. I love the young man who was doing the slogans here, Giji, Gijima, Gijima. You know, beautiful. Reminds me of Malema back home.
Probably an American, just making some money.
So I was looking around my room for something to test this if my TV's watching me theory. And so I've never seen a Lego commercial, ever. It's never been presented to me. I've seen the commercials around my son, but I've never seen ads, Lego ads or anything like that. So I played with some Legos in front of the TV. I just said the word Lego 1,000 times and was just holding it, showing it to the TV like Lego, 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 Lego. And lo and behold, my first Lego ad. And of course it's Saturn.
It's getting bad, you guys, and not just in LA. Wait till I show you what's happening in other countries. Yeah, other countries are revolting right now the same as the US. So now in LA they are boarding up all their stores. Why now? Well, they must have got some kind of memo for them to go do it now. If you get what I'm saying, because the last 2 nights they left it alone. So as of right now, it's getting really bad in New York, and in Chicago and LA, they stormed the freeway, and all the officers and other people were not even able to stop them. Don't forget, there's tens of thousands of people en route right now to all these different places. Meanwhile, believe it or not, ICE is actually firing up their raids and doing more so and continuing this stuff while the riots are going on.
Quick interruption real quick before we get into my boy Henry over here. Now, you saw those people walking on the freeway. That's just one side, y'all. That's one side against the other side. And the cops couldn't do nothing about it. We can't stop them from going on the freeway. We can't stop them from walking down this street, even if we wanted to. If they really wanted to get violent, these protesters, the cops would retreat, y'all. There's not enough of them. But could you imagine if we both came together for the betterment of us, for the betterment of what the government is doing to us? Could you imagine if we both came together? They wouldn't be able to stop us, y'all. But I don't see it ever happening, y'all. I think we're too, because back in 2001 when this happened, we weren't really political. You didn't talk politics. You weren't talking politics at work. They weren't talking politics at school. I was 11 years old. I didn't know about a Democrat or Republican back there. Now there's 5-year-olds that know Republican and Democrat, right? So I don't see anything. If a World War III happened and we got attacked, they would just blame it all on Trump. And then the people on the right would blame it all on Biden because he let all these people in. Never come together, y'all. So they're just going to keep getting away with it. They're just going to keep raising them prices.
Sorry for the little bit of humor, but I mean, come on now. This is purposeful stuff. Right here we have New York and Chicago. And just in time for the strawberry moon, the very low strawberry moon, we have the Schumann frequency going crazy, making people even act more belligerent than before. If I didn't know him better, I'd say maybe they've been tracking celestial events since 2000 BC off the coast of Greece. They found this ancient Antikythera computer, it's called. Again, 2000 BC, they were tracking celestial events. And would you believe me, they did crazy things on these special celestial events. Come on guys, open your eyes. But we'll talk about all that in the next video. It gets pretty deep. Black hole sun, Nibiru, Kachina, Node, you name it, it's crazy. Also has to do with earthquake. We saw in LA, Colombia, and the Middle East, you get it. Now here in Ireland, I told you it's happening all over the world. This is some people who are having their house burnt down by protesters. Can you guess what kind of people they are? Do y'all remember the videos I made 2 weeks ago where I was talking about there's something wrong with the human brain? I showed thing after thing after thing after event after event after event. What do you know? To be continued.
I'll point out that there's only 48 active astronauts worldwide out of almost 8 billion people. And this gentleman here says we can only send a handful of astronauts to space at a time. Who is we? That's my first question. My next question is, if we're just a speck of dust in this infinite amount of space that is ever expanding, why is there no industry for it? Why is there only a handful of astronauts going to space? I'd imagine it's because a handful of people can keep a secret much better than millions of people could. You know, everything that has anything to do with space has been debunked and is currently being debunked every single day. No one's ever stepped foot on the moon. And if you believe that they did, I don't know whether to feel sorry for you or to feel sorry for myself because I didn't have such a great childhood to where I'm still believing in fairy tales. Satellites, they are attached to helium-filled balloons and they are within our firmament. This is a fact. Find me a picture of a satellite orbiting our, quote, planet. There are allegedly 6,500 of them up there. You mean to tell me one satellite can't show you the others? Come on, make it make sense. Then people are going to get in the comments and say, space is dark. You know, they can't take pictures of. Dude, look at the ISS footage. Pretty bright up there if you ask me. None of it makes sense. But you're not looking at it critically because you've been indoctrinated to accept a set of beliefs. That's what indoctrination is. And after you accept these set of beliefs, it becomes your religion. No different than Hinduism, Catholicism, atheism. And just like with any religion, you get upset with others when they present information that doesn't coincide with your belief system. My guy, you're working on blind faith. I'll bet it all right now, you've never been to space. You've never been up high enough to look down and see what you've been living on. We were all born into a wildlife preserve for humans. You see, your brain can only go as far as the information it carries, and nobody informed you on what this place really is. Some of us have eyes to see it and some of us don't. When all you have to do is follow the clues, follow the money. This hierarchy society that we live in is based on monetary gain. If space was a real place, there would be an industry for it. There would be people capitalizing on space. They would be selling tickets to space for $25,000 a pop. They'll take you up far enough to where you can experience weightlessness and you can look down and see that you live on a globe. The same way they show you the Grand Canyon via helicopter. Space would be a tourist attraction, but it's not because it can't be. Space ain't a real place, my guy.
How do you justify a war that nobody wants?
There may be an event somewhere in the world. It's not just the missiles or drones they'll fly to Israel, but the Iranian IRGC, the very leadership the Israelis destroyed last night, has been working in nearly every country around the world, including the United States of America, to plant little terror cells all across the world.
Charlie Kirk this morning, quote, "Keep your head on a swivel. Biden let millions of people into America. Iran might activate some sleeper cells against Americans. Stay armed." Does anybody buy this still? You see, now that it's been confirmed that U.S. forces are going to be deployed, the priming campaign for some kind of attack is in full overdrive. Kind of like how they've been telling us for 30 years that Iran is 2 to 3 months away from building some kind of nuke. The irony here, of course, is the country that actually has a secret nuclear arsenal. Look, I'm gonna be real. We as regular people have almost no control if our deranged warmonger leaders want World War III. You know, we just do the best we can and be as loud as we can be. But at the very least, we should at least know who the real king, the actual king of America is, and who we fight our wars on behalf of. Godspeed to us all.
Has always fought back. Humanity has always fought back against evil. Because evil has no boundaries, you know? And whatever you call evil, you can call him Satan, you can call him Shaitan, you can call him the devil, whatever you want to call it, that energy that exists in our world that puts that battery in people's back to just disrespect and just be completely have a disregard for people's lives or human life, or be like psychopathic and just not care at all, but try to make you feel guilty because you care and you're human, like that's the stuff, you know, that's the stuff that we need to talk more about. And as a man, that's what I'm saying, I will feel guilty for not speaking up, but then I will feel a certain type of way if I hurt someone else's feelings because they don't like what I'm saying, you know, or you're saying the truth and they don't like what you're saying. So there is that balance that I want to talk about to my young men out there and some of my elder men. Like, don't be afraid to say how you feel. Don't be afraid to go and get help and learn how to speak how you feel.
You guys want to hear a history fact that maybe not feel so good about our independence? So this professor of history talking about the Revolutionary War, and there was no reason for the British to surrender because their army was vastly bigger than ours. But one of the reasons they surrendered was in 1763, 10 years prior to Declaration of Independence, the British signed the Royal Proclamation with the Native Americans, which gave them territory from the Appalachian Mountains to the Mississippi. But the British were making making money off cotton and tobacco plantations. The way that they were farming, they completely destroyed the soil, so they couldn't farm anymore. What they did was they surrendered to the U.S., but the treaty they signed allowed the British to stay economically in the U.S. They just waited for America to take the Native American land because that treaty with the Native Americans was void. And then the British came in and were buying up farm plots basically in the U.S. because they were still involved economically within the U.S.
Okay.
Just like, did they just drop out because they're just waiting for
the payoff?
Yeah.
They're thinking long game wise. Like,
yeah.
Interesting.
20,000 Latina, mostly Mexican American women. Mostly Mexican women were sterilized without even knowing it, without their consent. And this was happening from the years 1909 through 1979.
70 years of this?
They're mostly poor, mentally ill, people of color, especially Mexican American. It was mostly happening in Los Angeles, you know, from where? USC Medical Center. Either they'll do it without their consent, sterilize them while they're under labor, or telling them the only way for your baby to survive is if we do this. So they'll scare them. And another thing was, for the most part, they wouldn't even speak English, and all the consent forms were in English. So they were just like, oh yeah, just sign here and just sign here.
That is super illegal.
A court case, the Madrigal 10, where 10 Mexican American women sued USC Medical Center after being sterilized without their consent. They actually lost. They lost against the court.
Oh, no.
Doctors believed that Latina women were a burden to society and they were having too many kids. And you know when California apologized? 2021. California officially apologized and compensated the victims $25,000. But for the most part, a lot of them didn't even know.
25,000.
Yeah, a lot of them didn't even know that happened to them. And the craziest thing, when Hitler was coming up with, like, you know, all these concentration camps, you know who they studied? California, because of what they did, all the sterilization. Isn't that insane?
You don't think the government is listening to you through your phone? Let me tell you something. Last night, many of you may know that Israel attacked Iran unprovoked. They sent missiles into a metropolis city in Iran, Tehran. It's the capital of Iran. A lot of civilians live there. It's like New York, or I guess more specifically, it's kind of like DC because it's the capital of the country, and it's also a metropolis city. It's the capital of Iran. It's where my whole family's from, and they bombed it. Israel did. They bombed Tehran. A bunch of apartment buildings were on fire. People died. Obviously, I was very upset about this. Still am. Last night, when it was happening, I was talking about this with my friends using Discord, the app, through my iPad. Was not using my phone, but my phone was sitting there next to me. We were talking about this. I was not saying anything about Jewish people. I was talking about my discontent with the Israeli government and their military decisions. Cut to this morning, I wake up with a song idea, and I go to my recording or my voice memos app on my phone to record it. I get this message for the first time. Recording disabled to record voice memos and call. I was not on a call. I had no apps open on my phone except for this app. But my microphone was being used, so I couldn't record anything. I double checked to see if I had any calls open or any apps. Nothing's open. I put my phone on airplane mode. Try again. Still getting this message. My phone was tapped just because I was talking ill about Israel 6 hours before. Be careful what you guys do on your phones. They're listening to you.
When the Shah was in Iran, did Israel already exist?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Mm-hmm.
Was Israel causing chaos? Was there war in the Middle East? Let me say this one more time. When Iran was ran by the Shah, what year was the Shah of Iran? What years did he run Iran?
53 through 79. I think.
Okay, 53 is the oil consortium, so 54 is the oil consortium. 41 to 79.
Oh, wow.
Because he started at 21 years old, young man, right? 41 to 79. When did Israel become a nation?
48.
Yeah. Okay, so check this out. Why is it that between 48 to 79, while the Shah was the king of Iran, running Iran, why is it for 31 years there is no major war in the Middle East? Why is that? So to the people that want to say it's all Israel's fault, how come there wasn't that in Iran for 31 years? I'm curious. Answer that question for me. And why is it from 79, when the mullahs, the Hezbollahs, the IRGC, all these guys, the Khomeinis, all of them took over. Why has there been chaos in the Middle East since 79? Whose fault is that? America's been consistent. Yes, I know America wanted the oil from Iran. And yes, I know UK wanted it and MI6 and CIA and all this stuff. And yes, I also am aware that the Shah didn't trust Israel. The Shah didn't trust, what they were doing with media and finance and the ambition and the level and the control and the influence and all that stuff. He knew what was going on there. He wanted to compete with them. He didn't see himself as a victim. He's like, we're going to be doing the same thing. And they're like, wait a minute, this guy's too ambitious and he thinks he can go up against all of us. Let's take this guy out. We need chaos in the Middle East. Oh, shit. Even Israel being involved, let's just say for Iran and the Shah fallen, there is chaos now in the Middle East. On who, though? On who, though? Who did that? So, yeah, for me, the most consistent thing behind the chaos in the Middle East has been Iran. That's just the reality of it. So we can say whatever we want to say. That's a fact on what's happened there. Now, since then, what has happened to Israel? They've gotten more powerful. They've gotten better relationship. They've gotten more contacts and more money and more resources, and they're more connected in different places and, all this other stuff. They've controlled Hollywood, which means the messaging in all the movies is controlled by them and all that other stuff. Yes, they did that. Guess what? That was their strategy on what they did. And they won in that area. Other people could have done it, but they had the vision of saying, we believe Hollywood's one way to persuade the entire world. And, a big part of that is maybe they learned from another guy where they were able to see. And the story about Titanic. You know who was the first producer of Titanic? You know who?
Someone named Adolf Hitler.
Do you know the first Titanic was Adolf Hitler? He produced it.
The first movie?
Go pull up Titanic. First Titanic. Who funded the first Titanic? Not 79, the first one. First, who funded the first Titanic movie?
The Nazis.
The Nazis. It's not 1997. The first one. Okay? The first one. The first one, 1943 film, was funded by the Nazi regime through its production company, UFA. It was a propaganda film to depict British characters as villains and highlight fiction German officer as a hero. And the film was overseen by Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi minister of propaganda. So guess what? Germany realized the way to get people to think Nazi soldiers are good is through a movie. And what did Israel's like? Oh, you're going to play this game? We're going straight to Hollywood because it works. And, that doesn't mean it's good, bad. It's an effective way of doing it. Hitler used it for his own reasons. And Israel's like, we're going to use it to tell our story of what happened with Israel. And here's who we are. Hey, you know what? Other people could have done that. They did that. And then you bring it to today, right? When Netanyahu said, I'm telling you, if we go on Saddam Hussein, Iraq, da-da-da-da-da, and I'm watching the way he's doing it again, right? Man, he knows how to sell fear porn.
Oh, yeah.
He knows how to sell that so well. And by the way, that's an art.
I just told you a little while ago, these leaders that they call leaders, this included Lena Horne, this included Dick Gregory, and this included comedians, comics, trumpet players, baseball players. Show me in the white community where a comedian is a white leader. Show me in the white community where a singer is a white leader, or a dancer or a trumpet player is a white leader. These aren't leaders. These are puppets and clowns that have been set up over the black community by the white community and have been made celebrities and usually say exactly what they know that the white man wants to hear. And it is an honor, actually, that they endorsed Dr. Martin Luther King and were against the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. That's actually an honor.
Likey.
Begin to realize that they can use light frequencies to destroy the leptin melanocortin pathways in the brain to control people. They don't need LSD. They don't need mescaline. They don't need anything else, okay? And the reason why this program gets changed is during its evolution, they find out that people that have heavily melanated skin are the most difficult to control, okay? So there's another DARPA program that you may have heard about. I'm sure Whitney Webb and Mark Godwin have heard about it, but have never linked it to this story. It's called the Targeted Individual Program. In other words, how you control people utilizing remote technology. Well, who's the guy that actually really discovered this whole thing? Alan Fry. Alan Fry's looked at a good guy in my world, Why? He's the first guy that showed that when you zap a brain with any type of electromagnetic radiation, it opens the blood-brain barrier. So you can take bad shit and get it in. What magically happens in the United States at that time? People start making processed food. What also magically happens? Drugs start to come on market, and they have a lot of fillers and preservatives in them. Guess what all those fillers and preservatives and all the fake processed shit was really about? It was about figuring out how to get toxins from your gut into your brain so that you could electromagnetically target them. That is actually what happens between MK Ultra into SRI.
Would have been. When 9/11 happened, there was someone present, witnessed it, unfortunately, you know, how traumatic that would have been. And his name was Gerard Way. You know who that is?
No.
So it was a guy who was trying to deal with this, going to his therapist, and started creating music and came up with a band called My Chemical Romance.
Oh
right?
my gosh.
And then there's a girl named Stephanie Meyer who had listened to My Chemical Romance and was inspired by their music and started writing books that went on to become the Twilight series. Not even finished. Then there's somebody who read the Twilight series and started creating a fan fiction of it. His name was E.L. Wright, I believe.
Oh, I know where this one's going.
Yep. And he went on to create a fan fiction for the Twilight series that somehow transformed into 50 Shades of Grey. So just just as if
that's a double,
just as if like the 9/11
triple
wasn't
tragedy.
Yeah. Just as if it wasn't bad enough already, that's what it led to.
9/11 was a terrible day, and it led to more terrible things.
I'm a former Army Ranger captain. I used to work in tech and a law school graduate. When I graduated law school, I saw AI on the horizon, and I pivoted hard, which led me to my current projects. But with all that experience, I want to be able to tell you the one thing that's going to be able to save you in the years to come. You see, the thing is, most people have absolutely no idea what's coming. You see, the main focus for everybody has been AI is coming for our jobs, and that is a real concern. But it's really destabilizing these much deeper things: trust, reality, and decision-making. The people who are at the highest level of risk as artificial intelligence enters the game is not the people without skills. It's the people who have nervous systems that are vulnerable to being hijacked. I'll say that again. It's in your body. The people who are at the highest risk level are the ones with nervous systems who are vulnerable. Reality is just filled with information in the form of signals. But your brain cannot perceive that information accurately when it's constantly in a state of fight, flight, freeze. When your body is constantly in that state, it's impossible to accurately discern what reality is. So the game is not to outthink AI or to outproduce AI. The game is to regulate your nervous system. Because if your nervous system is calm, you can navigate anything. So if you want to survive and thrive in the next decade, that is the game. Learn how to regulate your nervous system.
You think history's like a real thing?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, but I don't think he jumped 100.
Are
you serious? You don't?
No, I'm dead ass.
Wait, you don't believe in shit that happened like 200 years ago?
The moon landing.
Hell no.
Wait, really?
What about the moon landing?
No, I don't believe that. I don't believe anything that happened before 1950.
Wait.
The food I eat 100% affects the way my entire day goes. If I eat a big ass salad in the morning with avocados and olive oil, and I eat that, then I have some coconut oil and some coffee, and then I have a small bowl of blueberries with some plain yogurt. I'm eating like nothing but healthy food. And then I'll have like an elk steak with some asparagus. Dude, I feel great.
Right.
I feel great. I've got crazy energy. I'm drinking water all the time. No juices, no no sugar, no nothing. I am more happy.
That's the key.
This is everything you need to know about Iran before the misinformation starts rolling. So in 1908, the Brits struck oil in Iran. Instead of sharing those profits with them, they created BP, or the British Petroleum Company, which ran Iranian oil from 1908 to the end of World War II. That's a long time. Now, following the war, Iran elected one of their own. His name was Mohammad Mossadegh. His goal was to nationalize Iranian oil, finally take back the profits of their own resources, and crawl out from under the Western boot. Now, sadly, the US and the UK didn't really like that. It was a threat to their power. And so what they did, sadly, like a few years after his election, was task our favorite friendly neighborhood three-letter agency to conduct Operation Ajax. You can Google it. So they overthrew him and instilled their own Western-friendly dictator. or the Shah. Not only did this tarnish our relationship with Iran forever, but it also threw them into 30 more years of tumultuous times, oppression under that Shah's dictatorship. So finally, again, in 1979, Iran revolted and overthrew the Shah. What the U.S. did in retaliation was give Iraq, Saddam Hussein, everything they needed to invade Iran, and for the next 10 years, more war. All right, so now we're in the 90s. Iran is semi-stable. They start building weapons programs, as any country would. Even though we were sanctioning them heavily for these weapons programs, we were also secretly selling them weapons and their enemies' weapons. If you didn't know this, war is very profitable for the West. Then 9/11 happened. Now, even though 9/11 was Saudi-backed, the Bush administration still vilified Iran, and we invaded, and for the next 15 years, more war. It wasn't until President Obama came around that we were able to strike a deal with Iran. The region kind of started to cool off, and then President Trump was elected. He quickly kneeled to Israel, and he quickly kneeled to the Saudis and struck that deal down. Iran quickly resumed building weapons. Duh. So, in short, Iran doesn't like us because for the last 100+ years, we have ruined and oppressed their country and stole from them. Now's a good time to watch Andor if you haven't already.
We have numerous active shooters going on right now in the United States. And no, I'm not talking about the rubber bullets by the police. I'm talking about actual shooters, like real bullets. I think there's like 6 people hit so far in Utah. Sorry, the video's so blurry, I can't really show you this stuff anyways, or not the explicit parts of it. And at the same exact time, that was Utah, at the same exact time, we're having an active shooter right now in Texas. Not to mention, earlier today in Texas, they had to shut down the state capitol because they were saying that there were credible threats against lawmakers. This right here is who they are saying is the active shooter in Utah, and here is another picture right there. No idea what they may be motivated by. I hadn't been able to cover it today, but we have hundreds of thousands of people out in the United States. We have veterans getting beat up. We have conflict between the protesters and the cops. It's just absolute insanity. It's just absolute chaos all over the entire world, and I don't think it's going to get better. And the reason is we have one country that starts with an I telling the other country that starts with an I that tonight's going to be their last night. I'll let y'all figure out that one on your own.
No, I'm going to call fucking Dorito, because what the fuck? Okay, wait. It says 30 servings per container, right? Serving size, about 11 chips. Oh my god. 28 grams.
Ounce.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6 fucking chips. 6 chips is 150 calories.
Damn, that adds up, y'all.
That is not 11 chips. What the fuck? Oh my god.
Allowed to go into the Vatican to see all the frozen, cryogenically frozen popes, because one of them was my name, Consalvi. My father's name is a Roman name, Consalvi.
Did you go in?
Yeah, and that I got because it was on my passport, Consalvi.
So you saw the frozen popes?
I saw all the frozen popes.
Was it wild?
Terry Bozio came with me, and Terry says, "Can we take a Polaroid?" I'm like, "Terry, you're serious, right?" We went in with scarves on. Terry said, "Get the scarf up over his nose." It pumps like this. And all these popes are above your head, like eye level, up in these clear caskets, dressed to the nines in their pupa. And they're all
Did you see your ancestor?
Yeah. And I stood right next to him. And so we leave, we see, and we do all this stuff, paperwork, sign to get in, get out, and all this stuff. Yeah. And then Consalvi, the Pope, is all over the Vatican. He's in the walls, the whole 9 yards, right? So we go back to Frank's, the hotel, and Frank's Zappa says to Terry, "Well, does she look like the Pope?" Terry goes, "She looks exactly like him. She looks exactly like him. They stood standing next to each other. I couldn't believe it."
Oof, that was close to home right there, y'all.
إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر.
All right, family. There you have today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you made it this far, leave a like, comment, subscribe. I'm gonna do too much talking at the end of today's video, y'all. I got my family downstairs waiting for me. Hope everyone out there has a good day today, y'all. And I'm going to see you guys tomorrow on Monday, y'all. Y'all have a good day. This is Segovia. I'm signing out of the man cave. I'll see y'all later. Peace.